Hello students, welcome to another video. Today the topic which I have taken is option, which is a very common term used in finance. So let's start with what an option is. Option is a contract between two parties. There are two parties in an option contract. The one is buyer, who is also known as holder or owner of the contract, and the second party is the seller who sells the contract. The option contract gives the right to the buyer to purchase or sell any underlying asset or instrument uh, on a prefixed price, which is the strike price, within a stipulated time period, or on the date of the expiry, till the date of the expiry of that contract. Um, Option contract is also understood as a derivative investment. Why it is known as derivative investment? Because the option contract takes its value from any other asset or an investment, the share, the prices of the share, or any securities, or any bond, or any other asset. So the option value is affected by the movement in the prices of other assets. That's why it is known as derivative asset also. And such type of contracts are actually a kind of betting contracts. Means we bet for future that something might go up, or it might come down, or this might happen, or this might not happen. So this type of contract is known as option contract. And to understand it in a better way, we can take the various components or participants in a option contract. The first participant in the option contract is the buyer. Buyer, who is also known as the holder or owner of the contract, is the first party. And this party has the right to purchase or sell a security or any asset at a prefixed time and a prefixed period. But here it is very important that this contract, option contract, only gives the right to buy or sell. It is not an obligation, so it is not obligatory on behalf of the buyer to execute the contract. He may or he may not execute the contract, so this is very important. The second participant is the seller. The seller is that party who sells the contract of option. The next component is the strike price. Strike price is that price which is fixed uh, before, or on the onset of the contract, about that value at which the share or any other security or asset would be purchased or sold. So prefix price of the security to be sold or purchased, that is strike price. There is expiration date. Means it may be 10 days, 15 days, or a month or two. So the expiration date implies the date on by which or before which that contract has to be executed. So that is expiration date. Then the next one is quantity and class of underlying asset. So what quantity of the asset is to be purchased, and what class of that asset or security that has to be purchased has also to be considered. Then the next one is option market. So there is a market where such option contracts are dealt with, and there are parties, there are brokers, and the clearing houses that clear all such option contract dealings. Then there are settlement terms. Whatever are the terms of settlement that are also considered under it. And there is a premium. This is important. For entering into option contract, a premium is paid by the buyer to the seller, and that premium is dependent on the market factors, or the conditions of the market. So these are the, or were the main components of participants in an option contract. So if we get into summarize this, what is an option? So option is a contract which gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to buy or sell a particular asset or a security on a specified date, on or before that date, and on a specified price. So this type of contract entered by two people or two parties is known as option contract. Now, option contract are of two types. First one is call option, and the second one is put option. In a call option, the contract enables the buyer, you know, to purchase a particular asset or a particular security, uh, at a particular date in the future, on or before that particular date, that was the expiration date. And call option is taken by those investors who are, bullish in nature, means who perceive that the prices would go up or rise or shoot in the future. So that kind of investors, take or purchase call option. The second one is put option. So what is put option? Put option is an option contract where the buyer gets the right but not the obligation to sell a particular investment in a security or an asset on a particular uh, date or before that date, at a predetermined price, that is strike price. So the basic difference between call and put is that in a call option, the investor gets the right to purchase an asset or buy an asset, and in a put option, the investor gets, or the buyer gets, the right to sell the investment in shares or in securities or in any other asset. So the put option investor, has a, bearish, or negative approach towards future. It means they are pessimistic that the prices might go down or it might fall in the future, and therefore they take the put option, means they can sell their security at a predetermined price and predetermined time frame. So this was call and put option. The strike price, is set by the market conditions or are influenced by market situations, and the seller's obligation is important here. Means a seller, the party who has taken the seller, to accept the, exercise of the buyer, that party is obliged, if in the case of call option. So in the case of call option, what the seller has to do, call means the right of the buyer to purchase a asset. So if the buyer exercises his call option, then it is the obligation of the seller to, sell that particular asset. And on the reverse, if the in input contracts or put options, if the buyer, exercises his right to sell that particular asset, then it is the obligation of the seller to, purchase those assets. So this was, obligation on the part of the seller. Now, a call option is generally exercised when the strike price is less than the market price. So, if the market price is 200 and say the strike price is 180, then in that situation, the call option is taken. And the put option is generally exercised when the strike price is above the market price. So, if the strike price is 200 and the market price has come down to 170, then in that situation, put option is taken. If put option is exercised by the buyer, the cost to the buyer would be the strike price plus the premium that was paid, or that is paid in order to enter into that contract. So if option is not exercised, then the premium paid by the buyer to the seller would be forfeited. So that amount would not be returned to the buyer. So if even if they don't want to take that option, the option or call option, the premium that was paid will be forfeited. And what is option cost? Option cost is the difference between the strike price and the market price of the particular asset. All these concepts can be understood with the help of an example. So let's get into the example. First, we'll take the example of a put option. Uh, in order to understand put option, we can, take an example of a person who is taking an insurance of a car. So what happens when we buy a car in which huge amount is invested? So we take the car, and in order to prevent or protect ourselves from any financial loss due to accident, or due to any unwanted incidents like stealing or any other accident, then we take insurance, and for that insurance policy we pay a premium for that. So what happens, the risk is transferred from the owner of the car to the insurance company, for which premium is paid by the person to the insurance companies. So put option is very similar to insurance of a car or any such kind of insurance. So let's take an example of the put option. Suppose Mr. X, an investor, buys 100 shares at the rate of 150 per share. So Mr. X is an investor and he is buying 100 shares at the rate of rupees 150 per share. Now, to protect his capital investment, that is, he has invested 15,000, in this investment, then there is a risk that his 15,000, might, suffer loss due to price of the investment getting down, or coming down or decreasing. So in order to protect himself, Mr. X also purchases a put option for rupees 800, and this 800 is the premium amount. So let's understand the situation. X is the investor. He has purchased 100 shares of 150 per share, and he has also purchased a put option to protect this 15,000 for a premium of rupees 800. Now let's understand, the total investment is 15,000, premium for the put option is 800, the time is 30 days, and the strike price is 150. So now there might be two cases. Case one, when the market price of the stock increases. So the strike price is 150. Now if so happens that the market price, instead of coming down as per expectation, it rises and goes up to the level of 170. So there is a total positive increase of rupees 20 in the value of the stock. So since market price is more than the strike price, Mr. X will not exercise the put option, because put option is taken to sell the value, or sell that particular asset when the prices fall below the strike price. But here the prices have not come down below the strike price. On the contrary, it has gone up to 170. So Mr. X will not exercise, because by selling it at 150 would bring him loss. So due to the increase in the market price of the shares, Mr. X has a profit. So this put option will be foregone by Mr. X. And see how profit has been calculated. Profit is the difference between the market price and the strike price. That is 170 market price minus 150 the strike price. So 20 is the gain into 100 shares. So 2000 minus 800. So the net gain in this situation by not exercising that put option is rupees 1200 net for Mr. X. So if he would have exercised, then he would have lost. So he didn't use that put option, and the put option got cancelled. The put option is not exercised by Y. Will gain in this situation, Mr. Y will gain the amount of rupees 800 received from Mr. X as the premium. So if we take the case of Mr. Y, who is the seller, so of the seller of the option, so since this put option was not used or not exercised, then Y will get, Y who had received rupees premium, rupees 800 as premium, is that amount which he will gain in this entire situation, or in this case. Now there might be the second case in this put option. So what if the market price of stock decreases? Our strike price was 150, and due to market conditions the value of the stock has come down to 135, and there is a decrease in the value of price by rupees 15. So in this case, since the market price of the stock has come down or is less than the strike price of rupees 150, then Mr. X can exercise the put option. He can use the put option because it was an agreement that if the prices will fall, then even if the prices have fell, he will purchase that particular asset at the rate of 150, that is strike price. And by taking this option, he will sell the shares at 150 even if the market price is rupees 135. So in this case, when the market has crashed down and the value has declined by rupees 15, Mr. X will reduce his losses by exercising the put option. And so the net loss to Mr. X will be rupees 800, that is the premium paid, because in spite of the fact that the prices have fallen down, Mr. X will sell it at 150, that is the strike price, and his loss will be only rupees 800. If he would not have exercised this option, then his loss would have gone to 2300. How? 1500 due to rupees 15 per share loss plus 800 premium. But since he had used his option, exercised his option, yeah, if he will exercise that option, then his loss will be contained to rupees only 800. So this is situation. Now for Mr. Y, that is the seller, the loss would be since the market price has declined from 150 to 135, so 1500 is the total loss, but he had received that premium from Mr. X, so the entire loss of 1500 would be reduced by 800, so the net loss would be only rupees 700. So if he sells the stock at the present time. However, Mr. Y can hold the stock for later if he wants to hold it, if he expects that the prices will rise. So this was the put option. Now the call option. To understand the call option, we have taken an example in which there is Mr. A who purchases a call option of rupees 100 shares of X Limited, 100 shares of X Limited at rupees 125 per share, and he is expecting the prices will rise in the future, and with this hope he has purchased 100 shares of rupees 125 each, and he has purchased this share from B for this option from B for a premium of rupees 600 and a period of 30 days. So the strike period is, or expiry date is 30 days, that within 30 days or on the by 30th day this option can be exercised. Then the strike price is 125, and the premium paid for the option contract is rupees 600. So now in case 1, when the market price of the stock increases, then what will happen? So our strike price is 125, so we are starting from here. In the due course of time, within that 30 days period, the value of the stock has shot up from 125 to 143, the high of 143, and in this process there is a total increase of rupees 18, or total growth of 18 rupees per share. So now what happens? Since the market price is more than the strike price, Mr. A will exercise his call option. What is call option? Means the right to purchase. So the shares at 125. So what happens, you see, even if the price has increased to 143, Mr. A can purchase the price at rupees 125 due to the call option that he had purchased. So since he is in a gaining position, so he will purchase the shares, these 100 shares, for rupees 125 even when the market price is 143. So what will be the profit for Mr. A? The profit for Mr. A will be 143, that is market price, minus 125, means it will be total into 100, that is 18 rupees per share into 100, 1800. It is the net total profit, and out of this total profit, profit, we will subtract the amount that he has paid as premium to Mr. B. So his net profit would amount to 1200 in this case. Now about Mr. B. So what is the situation of Mr. B? Mr. B will have the obligation to sell the shares at rupees 125 even when the current market price is 143. So this situation was, profitable for Mr. A but not for B. Mr. B will be losing. Why? Because the market price is 143 but he has to sell his shares to Mr. A for rupees 125 due to the call option, and so it will bring loss to Mr. B, and the loss will be equal to 1200. How this 1200 has come? Means difference between the market price and the strike price into number of shares, and 1200 1800 minus 600, that is 1200. So in this situation there is a loss for Mr. B of rupees 1200, and on the other hand there is a profit of rupees 1200 to Mr. A, who is the buyer of the contract. Now let's move on to the case 2, when the market price of the stock comes down or decreases. So now let's see the diagram. The strike price here was 125, and from this strike price the market value of the share has come down to 112. So there is a decline of minus 13 or minus 13 rupees has come down per share in the given period of 30 days. So in this situation what will happen? Since the market price is less than the strike price, so Mr. A will not take his call option. He will not exercise his call option to purchase, because if he purchases at 100, 12, it will give him, because the market price is 112, and if he purchases now he will have to pay rupees 125 for this option, and as per the nature of the option contract, it is not mandatory or obligatory for the buyer to exercise the option. So by purchasing it he will be losing, so he will not exercise this option. So in this case, what is the maximum loss that A will have to bear? It is only the amount of rupees 600 that was paid as premium to Mr. B. So only 600 is lost to Mr. A. And what about Mr. B? Mr. B, the seller of the contract, will gain rupees 600 which was received from Mr. A as a premium, and the contract would expire. So this is the situation. In this situation what happened? Mr. B will gain rupees 600 as a premium, and Mr. A will lose rupees 600 as the premium, and the contract will expire. So this was an example of a call option when market price of the stock decreased. There are some important things that should be noted while understanding the concept of call option or put option. So the first, regarding call option, if there is a possibility of rise in the market price, of the premium charged will be higher for call option. So if it is expected that the prices of a particular share or of an asset is going to shoot up in the near future, then the option premium is charged higher. On the contrary, in put options, if there is a possibility of fall in the market prices of the assets or the securities, then the premium charge will be higher. So in put options, when prices are expected to come down, then the premium is increased, and in call option, when the prices are expected to shoot up, then the option premium is kept higher by the market. And the most important benefit of option trading is that we don't need to own that stock. It is as such, they aren't any physical papers. Virtual trading is done in option contracts at the click of the mouse, and profits are turned around. So this was all for today's video, and I hope you would find this video helpful in understanding what a option contract is. Thank you.